Okay, after a long break to recuperate, I'm back on the trail. This is section 4. I got 16 miles to do over the next 3.5 days, but I've got 3,600 feet to climb. So this is going to be the first part of the trail where I really get into the high country. I'll be up at 9,000 to 10,000 feet, where so far I've been at much lower altitudes. So this is the first break of the day, and something's missing. It's the old Apple Watch. Left it at home. Wasn't very accurate and therefore really wasn't very helpful. So I'm trying something different, and that's the app Far Out. It has the trail overlaid on a map, and on that map there's a little icon that shows you where you are, and so far it's working great. I don't know how well you can tell, but the trail is here, and this is a little logging road, and that's marked on the map, and the app has me marked as being right here. And I think, as you can see, oh my God, I am right here. So I guess that's working. Okay, the plan for today was to get here late and to only hike a few miles. So I'm already in the process of setting up camp. But there's a thing I have to say. I just took 2 weeks off to recuperate. And that's a hell of a long time. And I got to say, during that time, I got a little despondent, frustrated, and eventually just pissed off. I want to be out here hiking. But because of my thing, because I don't enter deep sleep, I get very little of the recovery that usually happens when you're sleeping. And for that reason, the rejuvenation that I need to get back out here takes a really long time. Now, there's a thing that people say. They say, listen to your body. It will tell you what you need. And it's like, yeah, you got something wrong with you. Sometimes your body hands out terrible advice. I mean, ask it like, what should we eat? What's it going to say? Broccoli? No, it's going to say, let's eat some chocolate. Let's eat some cake. Let's eat some Cheetos. What should we do? Let's sit here on the couch and watch Netflix. Well, what you really need to do is get back out into the world. Get some exercise. Get out here. My body, because it doesn't enter deep sleep, all day long says, I need more rest. I need more rest. And I go like, we were unconscious for 8 hours. Why didn't you take advantage of that time and actually get the damn rest? But it doesn't happen. And so I just need to go out anyway. Screw what my body's saying, because it always says the same damn thing. Did I get less tired by hiking for a couple of miles and putting on 1,000 feet of altitude? No, I got much more tired. But here's the point. I'm here. That's the point. Okay, guys, day number 2, and there's something I want you to pay close attention to. Watch. You see it? Look right there. Did you just notice what just happened? This went from being a forest over there to over here. Now it's a wilderness. And what the heck does that mean? Well, it means you got this big metal box, and you go in here and you fill out one of these permits, which, I already did. So what's the difference between a forest and a wilderness? Well, the trees are exactly the same, but what's different is in the wilderness, there's more rules. So I looked through my little thing, and it seems to be pretty much the generic, like, don't leave your stuff all over the place, and don't be a jerk, and don't crap out in the woods and leave it in a great big pile where everybody can see it. Just any of the common sense things. Although, there are a few extra ones, which, I don't know, I'm a little finicky about. But wait, let's change this shot for a minute. This way. That's going to help my arm from falling off. So now let's give credit where credit's due, that there are well-intentioned people paving their way to a truly wilderness experience. And I would never advocate not following rules, but I would always advocate thinking about rules. Rules that I want to whine about. One of them that just seems trivial is that for the rest of this trail until I get to Kenosha Pass, which is about 25 miles, there will be no more trail markers. And to tell the truth, I find the trail markers kind of useful because there are side paths and ways where you can get confused. And it's reassuring to be able to go like, oh, I'm still on the path. And the grumpy part of me says like, man, if your wilderness experience is upset because there's trail markers on the trees, you know, maybe you should just give us all a break and stay home. But let's go on to the other rule that I want to complain about. And actually, the cynical side of me thinks that this is the major reason why they make wilderness areas, and that's to get rid of those bikes, those damn mountain bikers. They're horrible, they're terrible. We hate them, my precious, we hate them. Now, for the last 42 miles, I've been on trails that allow mountain bikers, and they come by and I'm having my serene experience out here in nature, and the bike comes by, and you know what it does? The guy comes by and he says, hey, can you believe that? And some of them, even worse, they come by and they say, how's it going, man? Oh my God, it's terrible. How can anybody ever survive that? And even in my little guidebook, it says, you'll be able to regain your serenity on this section of the trail because there's no more damn mountain bikers. Really, guys, just people. Maybe we should stop calling them mountain bikers and just say people. Because they're people. So they're on bikes. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, did I say I wanted to complain about two things? No, it's early morning, the day is fresh, so there's plenty of hours in the day left to complain. You know what else is illegal? Wilderness areas? Paragliders. And the excuse has always been because it's mechanized travel. I mean, it's a thing. I got lots of things. My poles are things. My packs are things. Mechanized? I don't know. It's got maybe 6 pulleys on it. 2 for the brakes. And another 4 for the speed bar. And this seems particularly silly to me, given that there's another form of mechanized travel that's allowed in wilderness areas. National forests all over the place. As a matter of fact, Colorado is absolutely famous for this form of mechanized travel. But I'm not even going to mention it, just in case some bubblehead goes like, wait, he's right, that is a mechanical device. We shouldn't allow those either, because that would just be frankly stupid. So I'm not going to say anything about that. You think about it really hard, you'll be able to figure it out though. However, it may be that paragliders actually aren't illegal, because on the little permit thing that I filled out way back at the box, it said parasails. Parasails. Now, look guys. So no parasailing. So if you get your motorboat up here with your line and your parasail and a couple of tourists that you're taking for $200 a piece, and you somehow are able to drive your motorboat through this forest, well, you can't, because it's illegal, because this is a wilderness area. Actually, they probably didn't need parasail, did they? Because that would be ridiculous. More likely, they just have no idea what the difference is between a parasail, paraglider, parachute, hang glider, kite surfer, wing foiler, because, you know, it's all just one big mixed up jar of jelly in most people's heads. But here's the thing. if these things really bother you, like if you were out in the woods and somebody flew over in a paraglider, somebody rode by with a bike, or you saw trail markers by the side of the trail, let me tell you about something that's 10 billion times more egregious. The biggest scar that humanity has made in this wilderness area that everybody seems to forget and ignore. Here, I'll point it out to you. Are you ready? There it is. Follow the shadow. See it? You don't see it? It's the frickin' trail. Somebody came in here with a goddamn bulldozer, bulldozed this whole thing out. This is not wilderness. This is a big, huge scar that runs 480 miles back to Waterton Canyon. Oh, see my shadow? Yay, yay, yay. All the way to Durango. So what's my point? There's compromises for us being in the wilderness at all, and this is one of them. You want a wilderness experience? Here's where you gotta go. Get off this trail, go down there. Don't bring mechanized things with you. Strip off all your clothes. Don't bring any food. Sleep in a tree naked, and then eat berries and nuts or kill squirrels. Oh, but then wait a minute. Is that nice to the environment to kill the squirrels? Or is that nice to the trees to eat the berries and the bushes and whatnot? So let's go for a walk. And when you see your fellows out in the wilderness enjoying themselves, recreation, and they're really not disturbing anything or compromising your experience in any real sense, besides that you have to look at them when they go by, maybe just relax a little bit and return their greeting of, how's it going? With your own greeting of, not bad, how's it going with you? Wait. What's this? What's this? It's a sign on the trail. A sign on the trail. My wilderness experience is absolutely crushed because I had to look at a sign. All right, folks. I have to climb 1,000 feet in less than 2 miles. I've already climbed 1,600 feet. So, what I gotta do is find my I can do this all day long pace. And it seems painfully slow. But if I can walk at a level where my body systems can constantly sustain that pace, feeding my muscles with, the chemicals it needs for contraction, the oxygen it needs, then I should be able to go on like this forever and make it up this silly hill, which I will top out at 10,600 feet. And I gotta say, air's a bit skinny at that altitude, but this is the secret, the slow pace. That I can do it all day long pace. All right, so this is my second full day on the trail. Yesterday I climbed up to the top of the ridge, which was 2,400 feet, over about 7 miles, which is a little deceptive. Yesterday I climbed about 1,600 feet of that, so it wasn't entirely even. I gotta say, hiking this trail would be so much better if I did the effective sleep thing. Because when I got to the top of that ridge, I was spent, set up the tent, crashed out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, kind of in and out of it for a little while, enough to get dinner. But, I got up at 10 this morning. And you'd think that would be plenty of rest, but of course my body spent its time doing its restricted breathing. So literally while I'm asleep, I'm going like this. And it just takes a hell of a lot of energy. And what's worse to that is your body is at really this heightened energy, a level, an alert system. You know, a bit of a panic because, you know, breathing is difficult. And what that means is you have horrible fucking dreams. I mean, just nasty. You know, I was back in my hometown of Madison, and a bunch of politically motivated people with machine guns had taken over the town. They were ripping open libraries, collecting books to burn. They were throwing pieces of metal like machetes through the air. They were scything into people. And I'm running around, you know, trying to stay out of harm's way. There's also bizarre elements like they were handing out t-shirts. And if you wore one of their t-shirts, it said, you know, wear our shirt, you won't get shot. And they were really brightly colored. And I think there's some sort of allegiance to this cause involved in this. But, you know, this is what went on, you know, because what I'm doing is I'm dropping into deep sleep. Everything goes flaccid in my airway. I struggle to breathe. The dreams go horrible. And then I pop out of it to start, you know, getting the air I need. And then I drop back into deep sleep. Then the dream starts up again. And then because of time, you know, dilation when you're asleep, it seems more continuous than it actually is. And then you wake up and you go like, oh my God, we're doing this again. And then what you try to do is sit there and think of something else. Because here's the thing, I fall right back asleep after if it gets so bad that I get woken up, I fall right back asleep again. But you kind of got to force yourself to stay up and try and get your mind on a different track. Because you don't want to go pick up that damn dream again immediately. Which I think is a little bit of a futile undertaking because the dream isn't the problem. The subject of the problem, the dream isn't the problem. The problem is that, you know, my airway closes down. I'm struggling to breathe, puts me in a panic mode. But, you know, here's the thing. I'm up, I'm hiking the trail, and oh my, it's downhill for the next 2 miles. So it's gonna be like really easy. It's freaking beautiful. This is a great thing to do. But forcing myself to get going this morning after, you know, whatever, 15 hours of that freaking nonsense was just like, oh, how can I possibly muster up enough willpower to plow through this crap? And you do, because I have to, every day, every single day. Wait, can we rant about the wilderness area? Just a little bit more. Go, come on, please let me rant about the wilderness area. Most of this trail on this section has been an old logging road. And if you think, like if there was a section of this trail that would be really good to have mountain bikers on, it'd be this part of the trail that's already been, you know, cut up by a bulldozer to make this nice, flat, wide trail like this. All right, guys, watch closely. Watch closely. You see it? Look, look, look. See it? What just happened? Yeah, we just turned from a wilderness area. See, that's a wilderness area. And that's a forest. Cool. All right, let's go for hiking in the forest for a while. I wish I had my bike. I could ride my bike here. Be great. So, are you getting the story you want out of these videos? And there's a little voice in the back of my head going like, yeah, probably not. People like those outlier stories, the people overcome against all odds kind of things. And, you know, that's not going to happen. I am not going to through hike this trail. I've been at it a month. I've made it 48 miles. That's 1/10 the distance. So between now and 10 months, you know what happens? Winter. Whole place is going to be this deep in snow. You know, it ain't going to happen. And so, should people like me tell their stories? And, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe this is dull and boring. Because the story is going to be a person who gets no restorative qualities of sleep, willpowering their way into having a physical life. That is the story I have to tell. I have no other story. And if you want to come along for that, I'll keep walking down this trail. But it's not going to end with me in Durango going, yay, I made it. It's going to end with me. Either it's going to get too late in the season, I'm going to decide to do other things, or I'll hang it up. And there's good reason for me to hang it up, because after getting off the trail, I was on the trail for 4 days. I got off. It took 3 weeks for me to recuperate, for me to get back out here. And I didn't feel great, even that. I was still going like, oh my God, it's so much work. But I wanted to get back out here. And I'm starting to question if that's really worth it. These 3-4 days on the trail, and then I'm just wiped and doing essentially nothing for, weeks to try and recuperate from it. Maybe if I did less, I could do things more frequently, and maybe that's a better use of my life and my time, especially this opportunity I have now where I'm not really tied down to anything to go exploring and adventuring. Lots of little adventures, considering as compared to this one big adventure. May not be worth it. And I think that's a story worth telling. Not the, yay, overcoming all odds, but making sensible decisions that actually then make your life better. Something a bit strange about hiking way up, like miles and miles, 2,400 feet of altitude, and not getting to the peak of a mountain, but getting into a big, broad, open valley like this. But this is kind of what the South Park area, which I will be entering soon, is like. Way up in the mountains at 10,000 feet, big, open grasslands. Here's something I had to get used to when I moved to Colorado way back when, is that spring is long gone down in the plains in Boulder and Denver, because it's August now. But you hike up 10,000 feet and you can come and visit spring all over again. Activating Stickmaster 2000. All right, washing up in the woods is really not that big of a deal. Got your comb, your glasses, your rag, and a bag full of water that I put a little extra groovy camp soap in, so it isn't super duper sudsy, which is kind of good. Anyway, then you got some soapy water that you can clean yourself up with. All right, all clean now. So if you're thinking that you gotta buy some fancy black branded solar bag to do your washing, it's got a logo and a website, you just get a Ziploc bag, leave it out in the sun. It works great. And I've got it on the stick. It's drying out. It's ready to go back in my pack. Stickmaster 2000. Disengage. Okay. Making dinner without bothering to bring along a stove. Which, I brought along little alcohol stoves for half of forever. But I don't know, I just got tired of the pain in the ass factor. So first thing you do is you get one of these containers. Now the sad part is they come filled with ice cream. So you got to remove the ice cream first, which I did. Chocolate, got it completely removed. And then I fill it full of rice to the black nutritional whatchamacallit sign. And then the next thing I do is I get some of this no need to refrigerate, vacuum packed, gushy meat, goopy, whatever it is, in this case pulled pork. And you gush that in there. And then the last thing is you fill it full, about halfway full of water. Something like that. Mind you, it's got to be instant rice. If it's not instant rice, boy, do you got a problem. Anyway, now the secret is this. If you read about this, rehydrating food, cold soaking they call it, which is grimmer than the actual reality because leave it in your packets reasonably warm. But the secret is do this at lunchtime and let it sit in there for like hours. And that way all the little flavors gush around and everything gets nice and hydrated. And it's pretty grooving. And you know, when you're hiking and exhausted, it will be yummy because you're really freaking hungry. All right, I'm now hiking through this very pretty high alpine valley. It's all full of wildflowers. And I gotta say, one of the big advantages of being the slowest person on the trail is that by the time the afternoon comes around, there's nobody but me. I usually have the entire place completely to myself because I'm hiking 5 miles a day. People going 15 miles a day, they're over there somewhere. Anyway, supposedly up here there's a moose. So I'm gonna see if I can see the moose. All right, there's the moose. And my story with moose is, I lived in Colorado for 21 years. Never ever saw a moose. Never saw a moose till I moved away and came back here to visit. So this moose, I have to thank him because he didn't run off, because that's what most moose do. They just go, oh, look, Bill's looking at me. Well, guys, if you can hear me over all this wind, that's the 50-mile mark for the Colorado Trail. So that means, finishing the whole thing this year at this rate, absolutely impossible. Hitting that medium goal of making Salida, extremely unlikely. But my fallback position of having a minimum acceptable goal of 100 miles, that's doable. I think I can pull that off. Well, today is the last day on the trail for this section, and I gotta say I'm pretty psyched because last night I had a poor night's sleep. You might be thinking, well, I had a poor night's sleep, that isn't great. But on my personal scale of sleep, that's the top rung. In this case, I only feel kind of tired and worn out. The other options are bad, where I wake up and I feel exhausted. And then there's horrible, where I'm completely gutted. And the first thing you have to do in the morning is get a couple hours rest just to recuperate from the ordeal. And then the grand prize is torture sleep, where you wake up because your body is trying to save your life. I mean, if you can't get air, you die. And when things get really bad, you wake up and you go and you feel like you were dying. And in that case, I know this must sound like a terrible exaggeration if you're a normal person, but it's really bad. And when I have torture sleep, once I do pop awake, I don't go back to sleep. I get dressed, I walk around, I wait for the sun to rise. Now I have to say, the myriad of measures that I've taken to try and do something about this problem means that I don't get into torture sleep at all anymore. I've got this thing that you stick your tongue in, and then with suction it holds your tongue out like that. Not really comfortable, but after a couple weeks you kind of get used to it. But that helps keep my airway from collapsing down so bad that I do get that torture sleep. But the thing about when I get all the way up to a poor night's sleep is I kind of wake up and start doing things like right away, because sometimes you think it's going to go away. Like, oh my God, I don't feel that terrible for once. I'm going to get up and just start doing something. So I'm on the trail earlier than normal, because I got to say, I've been a hell of a jag where I've been somewhere between bad sleep and horrible sleep for almost 3 weeks, and getting all the way up to poor, relatively speaking, is fantastic. On an absolute scale, it ain't that great, but it's so much better than the night before, that's for sure. Well, take a look over here. Something bedded down for the night here. You can see this trampled spot here, and there's another one over there. I can see the soil is churned up by some sort of prints here. It smells like poo, but I don't know. Moose? Okay, for all you experts, is that moose poo? You poo experts, do we have moose poo? Wait, hold on a second. Is that a trail marker? Oh man, next thing you know it, there's gonna be bicycles out here. So I'm sitting here taking a break. A couple of hikers come by and they stop. They see I'm reading The Hobbit. So we chat a little bit about Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings. And then they say bye and they start heading off. And then the guy stops and he turns around and he looks at me and he says, "Do you have a trail name yet?" Now, for those of you who don't know, on these long distance trails, hikers are often given trail names by their fellow hikers. So I say, "Nah, that hasn't happened yet." And he goes, "Proudfoot. You can take it or leave it, but that's my suggestion." And then he turns around and heads off. All right, this little meadow here is the high point, 10,900 and change feet. And this is usually a bad thing when people say, you know, it's all downhill from here. But when it's the trail, that's a good thing. Just to put this in some perspective, this trail goes through this valley, mainly off to the right where I don't have a good view. But I got to go over those mountains. And then it heads to the left, which would be south. The area you see is South Park, which is an area and not a town, regardless of what that TV show shows you. So I'm just a mile away from the end of the trail, so this is the last little bit of section 4 that I'm finishing up. Something I need to keep in mind, I started this section of the trail, I was absolutely gutted. Been a long jag where this whole not getting any deep sleep was just really bad. And when we were driving up here, I'm just going like, how am I possibly going to hike in this condition? How am I possibly going to get up to the top of that 2,400 foot climb? Because I feel awful. But I think there's a thing is when misery is the only option, choose where you're going to be miserable. And you know, laying around for another week was not going to cure me, because this is going to go on forever. So I got out on the trail instead. And I think there's an important thing that you got to keep in mind if you meet somebody like myself who's going through a chronic thing, which means that their baseline is pretty miserable, is that you got to realize there's a difference between the physicality of misery and the emotional state of misery. Because we have a fly. Go away, fly. Go away, fly. Interrupting my little speech. The difference between the physicality of misery and the emotional state of misery. Just because I'm tired and worn out doesn't mean that I can't see a moose, feeding in the marshlands and go like, that's amazing. Or enjoy the wilderness, or, just flat out be happy. It just means that when the distraction goes away, or these stimulus that make this happiness go away, I return to a baseline that's physically pretty miserable. So if you meet somebody who's told you they're going through hard things and you see them be happy, don't go like, oh, you told me you were miserable, but I see you being happy, so you're a hypochondriac liar. It just means they've got the outside stimulus that's taking them away from that baseline in that moment and allowing them to exercise other parts of their emotional spectrum. Let them do it. So anywho, my other question is to myself is, what the hell happened last night? Because like I said, I've been on a long jag of just really the sleep being completely ineffective. And yet on my personal scale from torture, horrendous, bad to poor, I got all the way up to poor last night. And I said, what was different? I was in the same tent, same sleeping bag, same pad. I got my rain gear in a stuff sack that I use for a pillow. All that's exactly the same. And the only thing I can think of is that my tongue has felt horrible all day long, like aggravated. And I do use this suction device that pulls your tongue out of your mouth to make more room so that my airway can work better. And I really stuck my tongue really far into that thing, like all the way up to the edge. And it was pretty uncomfortable, but I fell asleep with it that way. And I'm thinking like, well, if I got to have a miserable, aggravated tongue, but I can feel, at least on the best end of the spectrum that I have, it'd be well worth it, because let me tell you, the last few weeks were really frickin' miserable. And I was really going, how am I going to continue to have a life feeling the way that I feel? So this is the downer hike here. Not the downer party, but the downer hike, where we talk about grim shit. But, this is my reality. So should I lie about it and do the, no complain everything? I mean, if I met me, I'd be going, what the hell's up with you? So I think it's better just to say, hey, this is what the hell's up with me. So I have. So anyway, it's time to put the shoes back on and hike on down and see if I can find the big white pickup truck.